Hey guys, Nike here, and I want to do a video with my thoughts about Guild Wars 3 and the information we have so far. Mostly what I'm optimistic about, and also what I'm sort of cautious about. I didn't want to rush this video out there since I definitely wanted to make sure my thoughts on it were well considered, and I hope you guys will enjoy what I have to say. First off, I thought the trailer was really well done and did a great job of expressing the general vibe of the X-Pack. It's clear that this game is set during a golden age of Tyria's history rather than, the post-apocalyptic world of Guild Wars 1 and the impending apocalypse of Guild Wars 2. The vibe is bright and energetic and hopeful, and at a meta level, with all the darkness in the world now, this is a vibe that I think people desperately want, so kudos to ANET for delivering it. I've been a proponent of the quote-unquote Guild Wars 3 will be a prequel theory for months now, and I'm glad to say I was right about that. It makes sense to put the game in the far past in order to target a high fantasy setting. I definitely felt that going any further into the future, given the way ANET has increasingly leaned into Magitech in Guild Wars 2, would result in a game that is closer to space opera than high fantasy. I think many people have tried sci-fantasy settings, but it's kind of a harder sell to a general audience than high fantasy. And so it makes good commercial sense to go with the high fantasy prequel. I also like the idea of only having 3 playable races, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with that. Each playable race adds significant development debt to the game. You have to have 2 voice actors per race. Each armor set requires basically an entirely new modification to fit each race. This all adds a significant burden. While I've seen a lot of, histrionic fits from Char players and Sylvari to a lesser extent, I think they have their bases covered relatively well with Asura and Coden. I'm not going to turn this into a furry bashing video, but if playing, being forced to play Coden versus your preferred Char is your line in the sand, maybe it's better you don't play Guild Wars 3. In my opinion, it's a tad unhinged to be so attached to a particular race in a video game that you won't play an entirely different game based on that race being there or not. It appears we aren't going to get a separate starting area for each race, and that really pleases me. This was something I've identified as a huge mistake for Guild Wars 2. Devoting 15 maps, 15 huge content-rich maps for early leveling areas for each, for all the different races while launching the game with only one true full level 80 map was just a huge misallocation of resources for Guild Wars 2. It appears that we will all start together in Ore, regardless of what race we pick, and I think that means they will be able to devote more attention to whatever, the quote-unquote end game is when the game launches, rather than devoting so much time and energy and resources into redundant leveling experiences. Overall, I'm pretty excited about the setting that the game is in. The gods being on the planet still allows so many great storytelling possibilities that really intrigue me. The human gods in the Guild Wars Pantheon are very much Olympian Greek style, with pettiness and jealousies among each other that will come out in plots and schemes among their followers, of which we will be one of. Add into the mix, the humans having their own, and the other races having their own ambitions, and add to that the goals of the human king Doric. I think there is really limitless potential to tell interesting stories. I've heard people suggest that being set in the past means that ANET is somehow going to be boxed in by existing lore. Without being insulting, I'll just say that anyone who suggests that is just kind of self-exposing their own lack of creativity. And I'll prove that, sort of with the following example. No one in their right mind would say that an Assassin's Creed game set in ancient Rome would be unable to tell cool stories because they're boxed in by Roman history. You know, to think otherwise just makes you seem kind of stupid. Not to be insulting. Personally, knowing that Abaddon will be deposed by the other gods, most likely during the lifetime or lifespan of Guild Wars 3, isn't being boxed in because I'm excited to know what role the player characters will play in that whole huge story. Okay, so let's shift to the things that I am a bit cautious about. I think a full action combat system can be very cool, especially for console players, but my main worry is that the skill floor will be too low and the skill ceiling too high, which was already a problem in Guild Wars 2. Making it worse causes me some trepidation. Guild Wars, along with all MMOs, attracts a mostly casual audience of players. This isn't an insult, it's just a fact. A game with a huge gulf between the skill floor and the skill ceiling creates nightmares for encounter design and game balance. It's not hopeless, obviously. There are plenty of ways for ArenaNet to raise the skill floor. The main one is slowing down combat so the moves and animations of your enemies, especially PvE enemies, are well telegraphed. Slow attacks that hit like a truck is just a better design for full action than fast attacks that can't really be avoided and do chip damage. Another method, and I think ANET is almost for sure going to do this, is make encounters smaller in scale in terms of players. They've strongly hinted that the game will be based around solo play in small groups. This will help keep the visual clutter low and make sure animations are detectable and the game isn't spammy and a visual mess. I'm optimistic that they will crack this, but it's worth expressing concern because it is a potentially huge problem if they don't get it right. I'm also cautious about the content direction. I reckon that in fitting with small-scale gameplay, they won't be leaning into giant meta events and 100-player open-world bosses. I also don't think we're going to see giant Zergs fighting each other in whatever the open-world PvP format they have is, if assuming they have it. Large meta events and world versus world are Guild Wars 2's biggest strengths versus the rest of the industry. Consciously turning their backs on those strengths is an interesting choice, to say the least. I trust that they have a very strong design vision and will execute. But it's going in the opposite direction from proven formulae, and it's a choice that makes me pause at the very least. It's a bold choice. Let's see if it pays. Okay. So I want to close this out with some hot takes and predictions. I don't think all of these will be right, but, a couple years from now, let's look back and see how many I get right. Number 1, the game will not have levels or experience points. Progression will be purely about masteries or trait points or hero points or something similar. Killing trash mobs in the starting area to level up is old-fashioned gameplay. Focusing on actual exploration and adventure as the means to progress your character is way more interesting and modern. Number 2, we won't have traditional classes. Your dedication to a particular god will influence what sort of magic you have and what role you play. A lot of folks have predicted something like this, but I think it will be pretty straightforward at launch. No hybrids, no dual classing, no elite specs. Just 6 classes for 6 gods. X-Packs will expand the system, but it's pretty low-hanging fruit. I reckon that each god/class will have multiple possible playstyles, so there's no need to worry about picking Dwayna and being locked into a healer role. Number 3, in line with a full action game, I don't think we will see a return to Holy Trinity gameplay, nor will we see bosses that are designed for that style of gaming. Bosses will be more action-oriented in their skill sets, and as a result, I think healers will exist, DPS will exist, and support will exist. What I do not expect is that support will look anything like Guild Wars 2. I don't think there will be anything akin to boons. My guess is that classes will buff themselves, and party buffs will be kept to a very small minimum. So what would support look like then? I think a classic debuffer type support, it makes the most sense. Think of a Guild Wars 1 blinding flash blind bot. to shut down melee, or a melee hate necromancer hexer, or a caster hate mesmer. Those are classic support roles that don't exist in Guild Wars 2, but did exist in Guild Wars 1. There could be a buff class for sure, but I reckon it will be very limited. The idea of pressing one button and giving your party perma 50% increased DPS is not good, and I don't think is going to happen. Something closer to Weapon Writ in Guild Wars 1 makes more sense, where you can put a spirit weapon on one player for key moments, but it won't be a perma-wide party buff. Number 4, story-wise, I don't think Abaddon will be a villain initially, or perhaps ever if we don't get to his downfall in the story. I think Abaddon is going to be a big picture guy who just has different views from the other gods, maybe a long-term vision. My guess is the others team up to betray him, and the same way they did to Doom, and he defends himself. Will he go evil? Surely. Yes, we know he does. But at least it will be understandable why his brothers and sisters stabbed him in the back. Number 5, last hot take. It will be easier for EU and NA players to play together. The two servers won't be walled off, and much like Guild Wars 1, you'll be able to find the server your friend is on in a drop-down menu. And while there will be lag for one of you, you will not be cut off. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Please leave any comments you have below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Last thing, please join the Guild Wars 3 community Discord linked in the description below. We are growing a great community and will be there for anyone who isn't vibing with sort of the tone or level of conversation on the official ANET Discord server. I'll see you guys next time. Stick around.